everybody, how's it going? So I'm sitting here in Boutique Amps Distribution with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mike Soldano. How's it going, Mike?
Good. Nice to meet you, Glenn.
So nice to have you on the show. Thanks for taking the time. So I gotta say, I'm just kind of fangirling a little bit about all this kind of stuff. I mean, like, you cannot be an 80s metal kid growing up and not know the name Soldano. I mean, like, it's freaking legendary. It's right up there with Marshall, Mesa, and, High Watt, like, just all these legendary amps. I mean, like, you grew up watching music vids in the 80s, you just see Soldano everywhere. So just for those of the guys out there who don't know the history, myself included, can you just tell us a little bit about how you got started, all that?
Yeah, so basically I started tinkering with amps back in the mid-'80s, and at that time I wasn't even really interested in being a manufacturer. I was actually just wanting a better amp for myself. I'd bought the current high gain amp at the time that was all the rage that people wanted.
The 800?
No, actually it was the Boogie Mark II-B. So, because that was like, had the extra gain stages and all that stuff, and I was like, okay, this is it. But, it had some shortcomings that always left me kind of cold. So I already kind of knew how to work on amps a little bit, understood some electronics, but I figured I wanted to know more. So I spent about 4 years teaching myself vacuum tube electronics. And then I started building this project amp. And again, with the only intention of building one for myself and calling it good. Well, in about 1985, I had a good working prototype. But the thing is, I needed a place where I could test it. So I always would go to my friend's rehearsal hall to try the thing out. And every time I'd plug this in, all the guitar players in the joint would come in and go, "What is doing that? What's creating that sound?" And pretty soon the light bulb went on in my head. It's like, there might be a demand for something like this. So I set about designing and building the first SLO 100s. And so the very first SLO 100 production model was built. I built the first 5 in 1986. And then in 1987, about this time of the year, January, NAMM show time, I decided to leave my hometown of Seattle, come to Los Angeles, and take a go at starting a business building these high gain amps. On April 1st, 1987, I founded Soldano Custom Amplification, and that was my life for approximately 33 years. And then last year, I decided to close the doors on my shop in Seattle. So I was in LA for 7 years, moved back to Seattle. But last year I decided to close Soldano Custom Amps and team up with Boutique, because it makes more sense to build amps this way, the way they do it with multiple brands under one roof. Fast forward, 30 years of amazingness. I got to build stuff for some of my biggest heroes, and I think I definitely did set a new benchmark for high gain amplification during that time. And now here we are with new beginnings for the Soldano brand again. So that's kind of the history in a nutshell. If there's any little details, I'd be happy to elaborate.
Wow, that's quite the story. So yeah, I'm just, for those of you guys who don't know, in Boutique Amps Distribution, everybody's kind of building under the same roof. They've got Morgan, Synergy, the Friedman stuff, and Soldano as well. So this is pretty cool.
Awesomeness, yeah.
So can you just take us left or right here? What are the different models here?
So all of these on the top are the SLO 100. So that's my flagship amp, has been for, like I say, literally 33 plus years. Just nice variations, which is something I always used to do in the day too, with different colored Tolexes. We got purple, we got black, we got snake. And what's really cool now with Boutique doing this is they can now offer different color chassis faces, whereas before I was pretty much stuck with, because small, it's a size thing. When you're a small little company, when I would order chassis, I didn't get to have the opportunity to have lots of different ones because I simply couldn't inventory that many pieces, blah, blah, blah. With the way they're building them now too, they're using a new technology for doing the faceplates. So now they can offer these in all different colors. So guys will be able to get stuff custom built, pretty much any way they want, I think is the idea here. But anyway, so these are all SLOs, and this is a new evolution of the original amp. So over the years, I made little changes here, little changes there. I offered mods. But when I stopped production and we had the chance to just start with a clean slate again and just kind of like, hey, what are all the things that you didn't do that you would like to do? Is basically what the guys here asked me, Peter and Avi, and they said, what would you do? And I said, well, I'd like to put DC heaters in here to quiet down the noise floor, because over the years, 12AX7s became noisier and harder to get quiet tubes. So I'd sit there in my test room back in the old shop, and I'd be, spending an hour going through a box of 12AX7s trying to find some quiet ones to make the amp, acceptable noise-wise. Well, I knew that DC heaters would solve that problem, but I never had that opportunity to stop production on the amp, do a major redesign to do that, and put it back in production. So starting with a clean piece of paper, we came in and put DC heaters in it, and what's probably the most exciting is it's got an all-new effects loop. One of the points of contention with the original SLO was I never was able to please everybody all the time with my effects loops. This new loop is absolutely amazing. It's post-master volume, it handles pedals, it handles rack gear, it's got level control, it's switchable, you can kick it in and out, it's got a hardwired bypass. It's really an awesome evolution of the original design. And the other thing that's kind of new is you can now switch the amp without a foot switch. All the original SLOs, you always had to have a foot switch, and if you forgot your foot switch on your way to a gig, you were stuck in the overdrive channel all night long. We decided to go ahead and put a manual switch on the front panel now. So now the amp, or if you're in the studio and you want to deal with the foot switch, you can switch it right there on the amp. The depth control, which I used to offer as a mod, is now a standard option. And so this is kind of like the SLO kind of reached its final evolution. It's like we started from scratch, came up with an all new amp, and it's great.
That's super cool.
So the big story now is this little guy. What's this all about?
This is the SLO 30. So this is a low wattage version of the SLO. Now, some people might say, well, it's a lot like your old Hot Rod 25. Well, actually, it's more than the old Hot Rod 25, because this has every feature that the SLO has in a small, compact little amp with a 30 watt power section. And it's just an awesome little piece for, it's something that people are going towards nowadays, is smaller amps. And for the 25th anniversary of Soldano Custom Amplification, I did come out with the Hot Rod 25, which many of you guys have probably know about or have played or even own. And it was all the voicing of an SLO 100, but it didn't have some of the features like the clean crunch switch and the bright normal switch on the normal channel.
Okay, cool.
What we decided to do, again, clean slate, instead of just, putting the 25 back into production, we were like, let's really make it an honestly fully featured SLO, but little, and that's what this is. And it's an awesome little amp.
So, okay, can we hear it?
Sure, you betcha.
Let's hear a little clean, and then
yeah, I'll start with the clean. So here's the normal channel. We get a little volume on that. So even though I'm known for being Mr. High Gain, Mr. Super Crunch, you can see this amp cleans up beautifully.
That's sweet. Can we hear the higher gain stuff?
Okay, so that's the clean. Now we're still in the normal channel, but now I've flipped to the crunch mode, so this has increased the gain. So this is your good old, crunchy. And there's that.
Okay, let's get to what everybody really wants to hear.
This is what you want to hear right here. This is what I'm known for.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're after.
Yeah, that's the sound that put me on the map right there.
Right on. That's amazing. So just going to kind of put this in standby for a second. Now, this is the thing. I mean, obviously the Soldano has inspired a lot of other amps, most notably the 5150. From what I heard, they took a SLO 100 and modified it. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, because 5150's wound up on a lot of records, and so is the Soldano. What are your thoughts on all that? How do you feel about that?
Well, the old saying is, when you're copied, it's the highest form of flattery or something. I don't know the exact saying. I felt a little bit miffed that, obviously people were taking my circuitry and using it to their monetary advantage. But at the end of the day, I just felt like, well, you know what? I was the originator. I'm still the original guy. So there you have it. What was I going to do about it, right?
Yeah, I guess. But no, that's actually really great. Sorry, that's one question I've always wanted to ask. I'm like, I was wondering what.
Yeah, it always kind of stuck a little in my craw, but I'd say I'm flattered. I'm flattered that everybody felt that there was something worth copying.
So we've got the SLO30 that's brand new. This is definitely the hot ticket item. I'll have some links in the description below the SLO30. This is going to be really freaking cool. And again, 30 watts and 2 power will definitely tear your ears off.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. 30 watts is nothing to sneeze at.
Nothing to sneeze at.
I think the loudest amp in my collection, I've got an old 66 Trainer that's a 40 watt, and it's just the loudest fucking thing on planet Earth. So there you go. But anyway, Mike, thank you so much for being on this show, and just keep doing what you do, man. We love you. We love your work, man.
Thank you so much. I intend to. Thanks a lot.
All right. Until next time, get out there and make some metal, motherfuckers.